just want to tell a little story if I could. Years ago, I remember hearing whisperings of this bridge park development that would be coming to Dublin. And I got to know Bobby Hoyne years ago. Our daughters used to play basketball together when they were small. And one day I picked up the phone and I called him and I said, this bridge park seems like it's going to be a really big deal. So by chance, are there any Dublin alumni that I could do a feature on? Is there anyone in the organization that you know of that is pivotal in pulling this project together? And he said, Kiva and I have the perfect guy for you. He said, Nelson Yoder. You should talk to Nelson Yoder. And so I did, and I remember vividly bringing my little camera to, it was just a makeshift little hut close to the car dealership. None of Bridge Park was there yet. And it was just a room of blueprints and dreams and visions, and hearing Nelson talk about it so passionately, it was truly inspiring, and I knew that we had a very special alum on our hands, and look at Bridge Park now. So, as the recipient of this year's Distinguished Alumni Award, it is my extreme honor to shine a spotlight on 1994 Dublin High School graduate Nelson Yoder.
Thank you all so much. I should introduce myself as a many-time entrant but never winner of the Washington Township Fire Prevention Poster Contest. So Gene and I will have words about that afterwards. I never won. So thank you everybody, whoever nominated me for this great honor. I just want to say thank you for that, wherever you are, whoever you are. I think it'd be interesting to go back to, for me, 1981 and talk to 5-year-old Nelson on my first day of kindergarten at Indian Run Elementary and tell him about this. He wouldn't believe me. He'd be really surprised. Back then there were really one additional school. I think the fourth school just opened within the city of Dublin. Deer Run had just opened. And there was really just, the high school, middle school, and then at that point 2 elementary schools. And over my time in elementary school, 5 more elementaries opened. And I look back now and I think about that amount of growth that was going on and how just overwhelming that must have been for the school district and everybody that was here at that time. And I went on to middle school, at a second middle school opened when I was in 7th grade, and 2 more elementaries. And then by the time I graduated from high school, there was a new high school that was under construction, the one we're standing in right now, and 2 more elementaries. And then the growth just continued and continued. And I didn't really appreciate that as much as a kid as I really do now. And school was just one thing. That was all responding to what was going on in the community as a whole. And I started growing up on Wilcox Road on a 3-acre piece of property with mom and dad, and surrounded by cornfields. My sister Detty, who's here, I see in the back. We watched as development came and swallowed up our cornfields with single-family housing subdivisions and Tuttle Mall close by, and really saw the transformation that happened in Dublin. We lived it firsthand. I was up late typing letters for my dad on a Smith Corona word processor that had a screen that was 1 inch tall by this large, and for Dublin City Council and Dublin Planning Commission about annexations and rezonings and other things like that, really all the way through middle school and high school. So seeing all this growth certainly set me up for the career that I was ultimately going to go into, to say the least. But despite all that growth, what I thought was interesting is that at school I never felt like a number, and it's even more shocking to me as I look back on it and say, how was this possible, right? I thought about, just thinking back now, words that come to mind in terms of my time at school, and it's encouragement, challenges, opportunity, diversity, excellence, and love within school. And what an incredible gift to start the, I can see someone wants dinner. I have an enviable position of being between everybody and food. So I won't go over already enough. But I think, to be able to start college life and with that kind of an attitude that I picked up within school and have that in my past experience was really huge. Through high school, really Dr. Jeff Keller, who's here, was a huge influence on me. It's too bad he didn't get a chance to do a movie introduction for me too. It's great to hear from you and hear about Ned, whose mom was my my choir director actually when I was in church. But I think the interesting thing about going through this whole process is that having that amount of positive reinforcement at school, and that foundation was huge. It was really reinforced at home. I was just so blessed to have parents that reinforced positivity and the importance of education and working hard, and also with friends. I have some friends here from high school too that are here as well. Rajat Agrawal, Jean Ho, and David Kelly Cleveland, who were great friends through high school, and they all had this spark, right, that came from being together in that environment where everything was growing and changing, and everything was being challenged. And ultimately, really was blessed by God through that whole process. Through college, I feel like I was certainly guided and protected through college, and meeting my incredible wife Betsy, who's here, with my 2 beautiful children, 2 of my 3 beautiful children. I have Sophia and Eva, who are out there. And Julia is at a football game tonight, which is where a lot of you are probably going to be going soon. But really felt like I was being protected along that entire time. And ultimately, through lots of trials and tribulations and health scares that happened to many of us. But really to a chance meeting with Bob Hoying and Brett Crawford, my business partners, who you heard Keeper mention before. We had a chance meeting in 2010 that ultimately brought me back to Dublin to help found the real estate development company. And what's cool about that is it was at a really pivotal time for the city of Dublin then too. Things had changed, we'd exploded, we'd gone through all this incredible growth, and then here we were at Dublin where the HR department had kind of taken over the role of the CEO in determining where the corporations were going to be. Right, that power had swung, and instead of being where does the CEO live and where does he want to have his house and have his community, it's more about where do all of our young talent, where do they want to be? And that pendulum had already started to swing. I'd seen it, I'd lived it. I was in an architectural firm that was at the south end of Dublin that moved to Grandview in 2010. And we moved there because of the walkable communities and the access to restaurants and all this other stuff. And we were 92 people at our largest, and we picked up and left Dublin. And went down to a walkable community, right? So seeing this and being a homegrown kid from Dublin, coming back to Dublin, it was really important to try to help set up Dublin for the future. And when I got back here, City Council had a 4-year head start. They'd already been working on this, thinking ahead and creating the Bridge Street District Framework. And it was certainly providential that we came together when we did to pull this together, because I think the amount of effort and time and talented people that all had to come together to create something like this, which is only possible, thousands of people literally coming together and making it happen, it was huge. So I even brought in a little visual aid, because I'm paralyzed without visual aids. Presentations. So I thought this was cool. I put this together for something else, and I thought this group would love it, because this is what Ridge Park looked like back in 2012 when we started working there. You see your favorite Mark Pie Express, for those who remember that, back driving range, right? And the Bridgepoint Shopping Center, home to great establishments like Planet Fitness, used to be Cardinal Foods, and an old office building that no one could really see from the street. And then ultimately, eventually, it will change here, I think. I should say, oh, there it goes. All right, so there's a new grid of streets, and that was put together working with the City of Dublin's planning department on how we could create a new city. You can see the road's been moved away from Riverside Drive to create that great riverfront park that the city constructed, and then that's what it looks like today. I think I definitely thank everyone who's here at a big part of it. I saw Chris Crooms, the mayor and planning commission member and lifetime servant of the city of Dublin here, played a huge role in this. Thank you, and thanks to everybody else, the school district, who all helped with this and pulling it together. Just feel like it was really fantastic that as a product of Dublin City Schools could bring that experience back here and put it together with everybody else's and really make a big difference in my own hometown and in our hometown, and it's such a blessing to do that. On the wall at our office too, we have some principles that are tacked up on the walls that I think are really similar to what I picked up here in Dublin City Schools. Be fearless, treat it like you own it, tireless effort, just facts, everything speaks, and be nice. And I haven't always lived up to all those, as I'm sure my kids, my wife, and other people who are here can attest to, but I definitely try to do that every day, and I know that we all do. I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for the recognition. It's always an honor to get, it's an honor to get something like this, and really just want to express my gratitude and say thank you so much.